The moment I opened my eyes in a stranger's penthouse wearing nothing but his shirt, I knew my life had just become a scandal waiting to happen, especially when I walked into Vale & Co. their Monday morning and found him sitting behind the CEO's desk. Maya Bennett had never been the type to wake up in unfamiliar places. The silk sheets beneath her fingers felt cool and expensive, nothing like the worn cotton of her Shoreditch flat. Sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the hardwood floors gold. The scent of fresh coffee drifted from somewhere beyond the bedroom door, mingling with the faint trace of bergamot cologne still clinging to the oversized white shirt she wore. She sat up slowly, her head pounding from last night's cocktails at the Crown in Soho. The details came back in fragments. Tyler's text ending their 3-year relationship via message, the impulse to drown her sorrows, the pushy guy at the bar who wouldn't take no for an answer. And then, him. The man with the steel gray eyes who'd stepped between her and trouble with nothing more than a glance and 3 quiet words. She's with me. Maya's phone buzzed on the nightstand. 7 missed calls from her flatmate, Jenna. 1 new message. Girl, where are you? Your interview at Vale & Co. is in 2 hours. Her stomach dropped. The interview. Her big break. She'd spent 6 months preparing her portfolio for the chance to work at Vale & Co., London's most prestigious fashion house. And here she was, stranded in a stranger's penthouse in nothing but his shirt. Maya found her dress from last night draped over a chair, cleaned and pressed. Her heels sat neatly by the door. A note rested on the dresser in sharp, elegant handwriting. Take your time. Car service downstairs will take you wherever you need to go. A.V. She dressed quickly, her hands shaking as she zipped up her emerald cocktail dress. Hardly appropriate for a morning commute, but she had no choice. The apartment around her spoke of wealth without ostentation. Modern art on the walls, a Steinway piano near the windows, shelves lined with leather-bound books. This wasn't just money. This was old money, quiet power. The car service deposited her at her flat with 15 minutes to spare. She threw on her interview outfit, a tailored navy blazer, cream silk blouse, and her lucky red heels, grabbed her portfolio, and caught the tube to Mayfair. Vale & Co.'s headquarters occupied a restored Georgian building, all honey-colored stone and gleaming brass. Maya's heart hammered as she checked in with reception. The waiting area buzzed with creative energy. Design assistants hurried past with fabric swatches. Racks of sample garments rolled through the corridors. Phones rang with the urgency of Fashion Week approaching. Ms. Bennett? A woman in head-to-toe black appeared. Mr. Vale will see you now. Maya's pulse quickened. She'd researched the company extensively. The creative director was supposed to conduct this interview, not the CEO himself. Adrian Vale was a legend. He'd taken his family's struggling textile business and transformed it into a global fashion empire in less than a decade. Vogue called him the man who made British fashion dangerous again. The assistant led her to a corner office with a view over Hyde Park. Behind an enormous glass desk sat a man in a charcoal suit, his back to the door as he spoke on the phone in crisp, measured tones. Maya's breath caught. She knew that voice. The man turned, ending his call, and those steel-gray eyes met hers with the faintest flicker of recognition. Ms. Bennett, Adrian Vale said, his expression unreadable. Please, have a seat. Maya's portfolio nearly slipped from her suddenly numb fingers. The man from last night, the stranger whose penthouse she'd woken up in, whose shirt had been her only covering just hours ago, was about to decide her professional future. Heat flooded her cheeks. Mr. Vale, He held up one hand, silencing her with a gesture as economical as it was commanding. Your portfolio, please. His tone was pure business, as if they'd never met, as if she hadn't spent the night in his home. Maya fumbled with the leather case, spreading her designs across his desk with hands that refused to steady. Sketches of evening gowns with architectural draping, daywear that balanced structure and fluidity, textile innovations using sustainable materials. Adrian studied each piece in silence, his expression giving nothing away. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, he looked up. Your technical skills are exceptional, he said. But Vale & Co. doesn't need another designer who can execute. We need someone who can lead. He tapped one sketch, a wedding dress with panels that shifted like liquid mercury. This is bold, commercially risky. Tell me why I should bet on it. Maya's mind raced. This was her moment. She couldn't let the awkwardness of their first meeting destroy this chance. Because the modern bride doesn't want to be a princess anymore, she said, finding her voice. She wants to be powerful, memorable. This dress doesn't apologize. Neither should we. Something shifted in Adrian's eyes. Not quite approval, but interest. You start Monday, he said. 7 a.m. Don't be late. He stood, extending his hand across the desk. And Ms. Bennett? What happened last night stays between us. Professional boundaries exist for a reason. Maya shook his hand, the contact sending an unwelcome spark up her arm. Understood, Mr. Vale. As she left his office, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the job. Try not to leave any more of your belongings in my apartment. A.V. She looked back through the glass walls of his office. Adrian had returned to his phone call, but for just a second, she caught the ghost of a smile. Maya's first week at Vale & Co. was a masterclass in survival. She arrived at 6:45 a.m. every morning, determined to prove herself. The design floor was a pressure cooker, collections to finish, runway shows to plan, and Adrian Vale's exacting standards hovering over everything like a thundercloud. He was everywhere and nowhere. She'd catch glimpses of him striding through the workroom, his presence silencing conversations. He'd appear behind her shoulder while she pinned muslins on dress forms, offering critiques that were surgical in their precision. The proportions are off, he'd say, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Fix it. Then he'd be gone, leaving her fuming and irritatingly inspired. By Friday, Maya had learned the unspoken rules of Vale & Co. Rule 1. Adrian Vale's word was law. When he said a collection needed revision, you revised, no matter how many all-nighters it took. Rule 2. Quality over ego. Your best idea might get killed if it didn't serve the vision. Maya watched a senior designer get dismissed for arguing with Adrian over a hemline. Rule 3. The penthouse incident never happened. Adrian treated her with the same cool professionalism he showed everyone else. No favoritism, no awkwardness, no acknowledgement of the fact that she'd woken up in his home wearing his shirt. It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like an itch she couldn't scratch. That Friday evening, Maya was the last one in the studio, wrestling with a draping problem on her latest piece, a cocktail dress that was supposed to debut at London Fashion Week in 3 weeks. The fabric kept bunching wrong, destroying the clean lines she needed. You're forcing it. She jumped. Adrian stood in the doorway, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He must have come from a late meeting. I've tried 17 variations, Maya said, exhaustion making her honest. Nothing works. Adrian crossed to her work table, studying the muslin. Without asking, he picked up the pins and began adjusting the drape with movements so deft, they seemed effortless. His hands moved with the confidence of someone who'd spent years in design studios before he'd ever seen a boardroom. You're thinking like an engineer, he said, his focus on the fabric. Stop trying to control it. Let the material tell you where it wants to go. He stepped back. The dress now hung exactly as Maya had envisioned. Fluid, architectural, perfect. How did you... My grandmother was a seamstress, Adrian said, already moving toward the door. She taught me that fabric has memory. You have to respect it. He paused at the threshold. Go home, Miss Bennett. You're no good to me, exhausted. Wait, Maya called. He turned, one eyebrow raised. Why did you hire me? My portfolio was good, but not the best you've ever seen. Adrian was quiet for a moment. You're right. It wasn't the best portfolio. His expression remained unreadable. But you were the only candidate who looked me in the eye when defending your work. Everyone else was too busy being intimidated. Vale & Co. needs designers with courage, not just talent. He left before she could respond. Maya looked down at the dress form, at the perfect drape Adrian had created. She thought about his words. Let the material tell you where it wants to go. She had a feeling he wasn't just talking about fabric. Over the weekend, Maya's phone buzzed with a company-wide email. Adrian Vale would be hosting a charity gala in 3 weeks. Black tie, major donors, press coverage. The design team was expected to attend, showcasing Vale & Co.'s upcoming collection through what they wore. Another email arrived seconds later, this one private. Ms. Bennett, you'll need a gown for the gala. Use studio resources. Consider it part of your job. Don't embarrass me. AV. Maya stared at her phone. Was this generosity or a test? Jenna, perched on Maya's sofa with takeout, laughed. Girl, your boss is either a control freak or he's interested. Maybe both. He's neither, Maya insisted, though her cheeks warmed. It's pure business. Image matters in fashion. Sure, Jenna said, unconvinced. And I'm the queen. When's the last time a CEO personally supervised a new hire's wardrobe? Maya didn't have an answer for that. The charity gala arrived faster than Maya expected. She'd spent every spare hour creating her gown, a midnight blue silk that caught the light like water, with an asymmetric neckline that felt daring, without being desperate. She'd sewn every seam herself, channeling her anxiety into precision. The venue was the Victoria and Albert Museum, transformed for the evening into a glittering playground for London's elite. Champagne flowed, string quartets played, women in jewels worth more than Maya's annual salary glided past in clouds of expensive perfume. Maya felt like an imposter in designer shoes. She stood near the bar, nursing sparkling water, when she spotted Adrian across the room. He wore a tuxedo with the ease of someone born to formal wear, speaking to a silver-haired man she recognized from business magazines. Sir James Whitmore, chairman of the British Fashion Council. Adrian's gaze found hers across the crowd. His expression shifted, not quite surprise, but something close to it. Appreciation, maybe. He said something to Sir James, then began crossing the room toward her. Maya's pulse kicked up. Before Adrian could reach her, someone else appeared at her elbow. Maya Bennett, isn't it? Tyler Brooks materialized like a bad dream, looking infuriatingly handsome in his rented tux. Her ex-boyfriend, the man who dumped her via text 3 weeks ago. You look amazing. I've been trying to reach you. I have nothing to say to you. Maya's voice came out colder than she'd intended. Come on, babe. Don't be like that. Tyler's hand landed on her arm, his smile too familiar, too entitled. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Remove your hand. The voice came from behind Tyler, quiet and glacial. Tyler turned. Adrian Vale stood there, his expression pleasant, but his eyes promising violence. I'm sorry, who are... Tyler began. Adrian Vale, Ms. Bennett's employer. He didn't offer his hand. And you are? Tyler Brooks, I'm Maya's... Ex? Maya interrupted firmly. He's my ex, who was just leaving. Tyler's face reddened. Maya, we need to talk. Privately. The lady asked you to leave. Adrian's tone didn't rise, but something in it made Tyler take a step back. I suggest you respect that before security becomes involved. For a moment, Tyler looked like he might argue. Then he saw the security detail already moving toward them, alerted by some signal Maya hadn't noticed Adrian give. This isn't over, Tyler said, though it sounded more like a plea than a threat. He disappeared into the crowd. Maya exhaled, unaware she'd been holding her breath. Thank you, you didn't have to... Actually, I did. Adrian's expression softened slightly. Vale & Co. has a strict policy about harassment. That includes social events. He paused. The dress is exceptional, by the way. Your own design? Heat crept up Maya's neck. Yes, I hope it's appropriate. It's perfect. His gaze held hers for a moment too long to be purely professional. Come. There's someone you should meet. He guided her back toward Sir James with a light touch at the small of her back. proprietary enough to signal protection, brief enough to maintain boundaries. Sir James Whitmore turned out to be charming and wickedly funny, immediately launching into industry gossip that had Maya laughing despite her lingering tension. Adrian stood beside her, interjecting occasionally with dry observations that revealed a sharp wit she hadn't suspected. "So this is the designer causing all the buzz," Sir James said, studying Maya with keen interest. "Adrian's been very mysterious about his new hire. Now I see why. That dress is museum-worthy, Ms. Bennett. Literally, we're standing in one." Maya felt Adrian's gaze on her. "Ms. Bennett has a gift for letting materials speak for themselves," he said. "A rare quality." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions. Adrian kept her close, smoothly integrating her into conversations with donors, journalists, and fashion elite. He had a way of making her seem essential, dropping observations about her work that suggested he'd been paying far more attention than she'd realized. "The botanical collection Maya's developing will debut at Fashion Week," he told a Vogue editor. "Sustainable luxury. Watch for it." Maya hadn't known her collection had a name, let alone an official slot. Near midnight, as the crowd thinned, Adrian walked her to the coat check. The museum's marble halls echoed with their footsteps. "Thank you," Maya said. "For tonight, for Tyler, for everything." "Don't thank me yet," Adrian replied, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Monday you'll be working late preparing for the Fashion Week presentation. You might regret this gown when you're sewing hems at 2 a.m. "I never regret the work," Maya said. Something shifted in Adrian's expression. Approval, recognition, perhaps both. "Good. Neither do I." As he helped her into her coat, his fingers brushed her shoulders. The contact lasted half a second, but Maya felt it long after she'd left the museum, all the way home on the night bus, and later, lying awake in her flat, staring at the ceiling. Jenna was right, she realized. This wasn't just business anymore. The question was, what was she going to do about it? London Fashion Week hit like a hurricane. The Veil & Co. showroom transformed into controlled chaos. Models being fitted, journalists demanding interviews, buyers negotiating orders before garments even hit the runway. Maya's botanical collection was scheduled for the opening showcase. Adrian's decision, made without consulting her. The pressure should have been paralyzing. Instead, she felt alive. She'd spent 72 straight hours perfecting every piece. Silk organza printed with magnified pollen grains, structured jackets with leaf vein embroidery, evening gowns that mimicked the unfurling of petals. Each garment told a story about growth, resilience, transformation. "Ms. Bennett." Adrian appeared in the workroom at 3 a.m. Thursday, still in his suit from whatever business dinner he'd attended. "You should sleep. So should you," Maya countered, not looking up from the hem she was stitching. "I own the company. Insomnia is a job requirement." He crossed to her work table, studying the gown she was finishing. The collection's centerpiece, a white silk creation that shifted from structured to flowing like a flower opening to sunlight. "This is the one." "The one what?" "The piece that will define your career." Adrian picked up the garment with careful hands, examining her stitching with the eye of someone who understood construction. "When people remember this show, they'll remember this dress." Maya's throat tightened. "No pressure, then." "Pressure creates diamonds, Ms. Bennett." He set the gown down gently. "Or it crushes coal into dust." "Which one are you?" "I guess we'll find out in 6 hours." Adrian's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "I already know." "I don't gamble on coal." He left before she could respond, but not before she noticed he'd arranged for coffee and pastries to be delivered, the good kind from the French bakery near his penthouse. The fashion show was held at the Tate Modern, the industrial space transformed with runway lights and perfect acoustics. Maya stood backstage as models lined up, her heart hammering so hard she was certain everyone could hear it. Adrian found her in the wings 5 minutes before showtime. "Breathe," he said quietly. "They're going to love it." "How do you know?" Because I haven't been wrong about talent in 12 years. His hand brushed hers briefly, so quick it could have been accidental. Trust your work, Maya. I do. It was the first time he'd used her first name at work. The lights dimmed. Music swelled. The first model walked. Maya's collection unfolded like a living thing. She heard gasps from the audience, saw phone cameras flash, watched editors lean forward in their seats. The botanical prints looked even better under runway lights, organic and architectural at once. Then her centerpiece emerged. The white gown, worn by a model who moved like water. The dress seemed to glow, catching light in ways silk shouldn't be able to. The audience fell silent, that rare, reverent hush that meant something important was happening. Maya felt Adrian's presence beside her, though she didn't look at him. She couldn't. If she did, she might cry. The final model exited. Applause erupted. Not polite fashion show applause, but genuine thunder. Adrian touched her elbow. Take your bow, he said. What? No, I'm not. You are. His tone left no room for argument. You're the designer. Own it. Maya stepped onto the runway on shaking legs. The lights were blinding. The applause was deafening. She caught sight of faces in the front row. Anna Winter, Tim Blanks, Hamish Bowles. People who could make or break careers with a single review. She bowed, overwhelmed, and when she straightened, Adrian was walking onto the runway beside her. He took her hand, a gesture that could be professional support or could mean something more, and raised it high. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice carried across the space, amplified by microphone. Maya Bennett. Remember that name. The applause somehow intensified. Maya's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Backstage afterward was madness. Editors wanting quotes, buyers placing orders, photographers requesting shots. Maya fielded questions in a daze, her professional smile locked in place even as her mind spun. Through the crowd, she spotted a familiar face that made her stomach drop. Tyler Brooks stood near the exit holding a bouquet of red roses. He caught her eye and mouthed, "We need to talk." Before Maya could react, Adrian materialized at her side. "Problem?" he asked, following her gaze. "My ex," Maya said quietly. "He's persistent." Adrian's expression went cold. "I'll have security." "No." Maya squared her shoulders. "I'll handle it. He deserves that much. A clear, final no." Something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Respect, maybe. 5 minutes. Then we have the after party. You're the guest of honor. Maya crossed to Tyler, acutely aware of Adrian watching from a distance, giving her space but staying close enough to intervene. "Tyler," she said flatly, "you need to stop. Just hear me out." He thrust the roses toward her. "I made a mistake. I've been trying to tell you I want you back. Tonight proved it. You're going places, Maya. We could be amazing together." The words that might have swayed her 3 weeks ago now sounded hollow. Tyler hadn't wanted her when she was struggling. He wanted her now that she was ascending. "No," Maya said simply. "I'm not interested in being someone's redemption project or trophy girlfriend. Go home, Tyler." "Is it him?" Tyler's voice sharpened, his gaze darting to Adrian. "Your boss? Are you sleeping with him for the promotion?" The accusation hit like a slap. Before Maya could respond, Adrian was there, his voice low and dangerous. "I'm going to give you one chance to apologize," Adrian said. "Then I'm going to have you escorted out and banned from every Vale and Currs event permanently." Tyler paled. "I didn't mean—" "You did." Adrian's calm was more threatening than shouting. "Security." 2 men in dark suits appeared. Tyler left without another word, dropping the roses. Maya stared at the scattered flowers, her hands shaking with anger. "He thinks, everyone's going to think." "No one who matters thinks that," Adrian said firmly. "Your work speaks for itself. Tonight proved it." He picked up one fallen rose, examined it, then let it drop back to the floor. Come on. The after party is waiting. And Maya. He looked at her directly. Don't let small men make you feel small. You're too good for that. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't even particularly personal. But something about the way he said her name, steady, certain, real, made her believe him. The week after Fashion Week, Maya's life became unrecognizable. Her botanical collection sold out before noon. Vogue UK ran a 3-page feature titled The Bennett Effect, British Fashion's New Force. Her Instagram gained 40,000 followers overnight. Brands reached out for collaborations. And through it all, Adrian remained a constant, complicated presence. He gave her the lead on Veil & Co.'s next capsule collection, a partnership with a major department store that would put her designs in homes across Europe. He attended her meetings with buyers, lending his authority when negotiations got tough. He stayed late at the office, offering feedback on sketches with the precision of a surgeon. But he never crossed the line. Never touched her except in professional contexts. Never mentioned the night she'd woken up in his penthouse or the electricity that seemed to crackle between them whenever they were alone. It was driving Maya insane. He's protecting you, Jenna said over Sunday brunch. Big boss, new employee. There's a power dynamic. He's being careful. Or he's not interested, Maya countered, stabbing her eggs Benedict with unnecessary force. Girl, I've seen the photos from Fashion Week. The man looks at you like you're the 8th wonder of the world. Maya wanted to believe that. She also knew that wanting something didn't make it real. Wednesday afternoon, Adrian summoned her to his office. Maya arrived to find him at his desk, frowning at his laptop with unusual intensity. We have a problem, he said without preamble. The British Fashion Awards nominations are out. You're up for Emerging Designer. Maya blinked. That's amazing. Why is it a problem? Because I'm nominated for Designer of the Year, and we're both expected at the ceremony next month. Red carpet, press interviews, the full circus. He closed his laptop with a decisive click. The media loves a narrative. You're my newest hire. They'll create stories that don't exist. So what do? We stay professional. We give them nothing to work with. Adrian stood, crossing to the windows overlooking Hyde Park. The awards are important for your career. I won't let gossip diminish your achievement. Maya joined him at the window. Below, autumn had painted the park in amber and gold. What if I don't care about the gossip? The words were out before she could stop them. Adrian turned, his expression unreadable. You should care, he said quietly. Your reputation matters, especially as a woman in this industry. Is that what you're worried about? My reputation? Maya's courage was either bravery or stupidity. She wasn't sure which. Or is there something else? The air between them felt charged, dangerous. For a moment, Maya thought Adrian might close the distance, might finally acknowledge whatever this was that pulsed between them. Instead, he stepped back. Ms. Bennett, I hired you because you're exceptional. I won't compromise your career by blurring boundaries. His voice was formal, final. The awards are in 4 weeks. I suggest you start thinking about what you'll wear. It was a dismissal. Maya left his office feeling both respected and rejected, a confusing combination that left her unsettled for days. The British Fashion Awards were held at the Royal Albert Hall, a cathedral of Victorian grandeur turned into a fashion temple for one night. Maya arrived in a gown of her own design, deep emerald silk with a structured bodice and a skirt that moved like liquid. She navigated the red carpet alone, fielding questions from journalists with practiced ease. Yes, she was thrilled about the nomination. No, she hadn't expected this so early in her career. Yes, working at Veil & Co. was a dream. No one asked about Adrian. The narrative they'd worried about hadn't materialized. Or maybe Adrian had been careful enough to prevent it. Inside the hall, Maya found her seat in the emerging designer section. Adrian was rows away, surrounded by industry titans. She could see his profile, sharp and perfect in his tuxedo. The ceremony unfolded with speeches, performances, and award presentations. Maya tried to focus, but her attention kept drifting to Adrian. Once, she caught him looking back at her. Their eyes met across the crowd, and something passed between them. A question without words, a possibility neither would name. And the award for emerging designer goes to... The presenter opened the envelope with theatrical flair. Maya Bennett for Veil & Co. The world tilted. Maya stood on autopilot, her legs carrying her to the stage through a blur of applause. She accepted the crystal trophy, its weight solid and real in her hands. Thank you, she began, her voice steadier than she felt. 6 months ago, I was unemployed and heartbroken, drinking away my sorrows in a Soho bar. Laughter rippled through the audience. Tonight I'm here. That's not luck. It's because someone saw potential when I couldn't see it myself. Her gaze found Adrian in the crowd. Thank you to Adrian Vale and everyone at Vale & Co. for taking a chance on a girl who just wanted to make beautiful things. The applause was thunderous. Maya returned to her seat in a daze, clutching her trophy. An hour later, Adrian won Designer of the Year, his third time cementing his status as British fashion royalty. His acceptance speech was characteristically brief. Gratitude to his team, acknowledgement of the industry's evolution, a promise to keep pushing boundaries. He didn't mention Maya by name, but when he said, "The future of British fashion is in exceptionally talented hands," his eyes found hers across the room. The after-party was held in the museum's atrium, champagne flowing under soaring glass ceilings. Maya was swept into congratulations, air kisses, and business card exchanges. Through it all, she remained hyper-aware of Adrian's location, the way satellites track a sun. Near midnight, he found her on a quiet balcony overlooking the party below. Maya had escaped for air, her trophy tucked under one arm. "Congratulations," Adrian said, leaning against the railing beside her. "That speech was perfect." "I meant every word." Maya looked at him directly. "You changed my life. You changed your own life. I just opened a door." "Adrian." His name felt strange on her lips. At work, they maintained formalities. "Can I ask you something?" "That depends on the question." "That night, at the Crown, why did you help me?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment, studying the London skyline. "Because you looked like someone who deserved better than what she was getting," he finally said. "And because I know what it's like to need rescuing." It was the most personal thing he'd ever said to her. Maya wanted to ask more, to understand the shadows that sometimes crossed his features, but before she could, a voice interrupted. "Adrian Vale, there you are." A woman in a crimson gown appeared, Natasha Chen, editor-in-chief of British Vogue. She looped her arm through Adrian's with easy familiarity. "You can't hide all night, darling. People want photos." Natasha finally noticed Maya. "Oh, and congratulations, dear. Lovely work. Very promising." The dismissal was subtle but clear. Maya was talented, yes, but she wasn't in their league yet. "Ms. Bennett's work is more than promising," Adrian said coolly, extracting his arm from Natasha's grip. "It's exceptional. The numbers prove it." Natasha's smile tightened. "Of course. Well, shall we? Photos?" Adrian glanced at Maya, something apologetic in his expression. "One moment." He turned back to Maya, lowering his voice. "Don't leave yet. We should talk." But by the time he returned from the photo call 20 minutes later, Maya was gone, Uber-bound for her flat, clutching her trophy and wondering why triumph felt so much like loneliness. Her phone buzzed as she unlocked her door. Unknown number. "Congratulations on the award. You earned it. Get some rest. Monday we start the spring collection. AV." Maya stared at the message. Professional, distant, safe. She typed and deleted 3 responses before finally settling on, "Thank you. See you Monday." It wasn't enough, but it was all she could manage. The spring collection consumed the next 3 weeks. Adrian pushed the team harder than ever, demanding perfection while Fashion Week's momentum lasted. Maya barely saw her flat, surviving on espresso and adrenaline. Late Thursday night, she was alone in the studio, draping fabric on a dress form, when exhaustion finally caught up with her. The muslin slipped from her numb fingers. She sank into a chair, her vision swimming. "You're going to make yourself sick." Maya's head snapped up. Adrian stood in the doorway, still in his suit despite the late hour. He carried a bag from the Italian restaurant around the corner, the expensive one Maya had always wanted to try but couldn't afford. "I brought dinner," he said, setting the bag on her work table. "Actual food. You've been living on vending machine coffee for days." "How did you—" "I noticed things." Adrian pulled out containers: pasta carbonara, caprese salad, tiramisu. "Eat." Maya was too tired to argue. She dug into the pasta, flavors exploding on her tongue. Adrian settled across from her with his own container, and for several minutes they ate in comfortable silence. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said finally. "Why are you here? It's almost midnight. You have a company to run. You don't need to babysit your designers." Adrian set down his fork, his expression thoughtful. "My grandmother, the seamstress I mentioned, she taught me everything. Not just about fabric, but about work ethic, integrity, quality." He paused, his gaze distant. "She built a business from nothing. Came to London from Hong Kong in the 60s with 5 pounds and a sewing machine. Every dress she made was perfect because she said anything less was disrespecting the person who would wear it." It was the most personal information Adrian had ever shared. Maya stayed quiet, sensing there was more. "She died when I was 20, he continued. Heart attack at her sewing machine, finishing a wedding dress. The bride wore it anyway, said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen." Adrian's jaw tightened. "That business she built? My father nearly destroyed it. He cared more about profit margins than craft. By the time I took over, Vale & Co. was hemorrhaging money and reputation." "But you saved it," Maya said softly. "I rebuilt it. There's a difference." Adrian looked at her directly. "I made a promise to my grandmother that I would honor her legacy. That means finding people who understand that fashion isn't just business, it's art, craft and heart combined. People like you." The vulnerability in his admission made Maya's chest ache. "That's why you work so hard. Why you never compromise on quality. And why I'm here at midnight making sure my most talented designer doesn't collapse from exhaustion." Adrian's tone lightened. "Eat your tiramisu. Doctor's orders." Maya laughed despite herself. "You're not a doctor. I have an honorary doctorate from Royal College of Art, close enough." They finished dinner, conversation flowing easier than ever before. Adrian told her about his grandmother's shop in Chinatown, the way she'd taught him to sew by making him construct a shirt from scratch, 15 attempts before she deemed it acceptable. Maya shared stories of her own grandmother in Yorkshire, who'd knitted impossible sweaters and insisted Maya could do anything she set her mind to. "She died last year," Maya admitted. "Cancer. She never got to see me succeed, never knew I'd make it." "She knew," Adrian said with certainty. "Grandmothers always know." The words shouldn't have brought tears, but they did. Maya wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. Adrian reached across the table, his hand covering hers briefly. Warm. Solid. Real. "It's okay to miss people. It means they mattered." The contact lasted only seconds, but Maya felt it everywhere. When Adrian pulled away, the absence of his touch felt like loss. Her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A text from an unknown number. "Stop ignoring me. We need to talk. I'm outside your flat. Tyler." Maya's blood went cold. "How does he know where I live?" Adrian's expression darkened as he read over her shoulder. "When did he send this?" "Just now, but—" Maya checked the timestamp. "I'm not at my flat. I'm here." "Then he's bluffing or stalking your social media." Adrian's voice went hard. This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer first thing tomorrow. You'll need a restraining order. That seems extreme. Maya. Adrian's use of her first name stopped her protest. This isn't normal behavior. Ex-partners don't show up at someone's home uninvited. They don't crash work events repeatedly. Tyler Brooks is escalating, and you need legal protection. The concern in his voice was real, protective without being controlling. Maya realized she'd been minimizing Tyler's behavior, making excuses because confrontation felt uncomfortable. Okay, she said quietly. You're right. I'll talk to a lawyer. My lawyer, Adrian corrected. Tomorrow morning, I'll arrange it. And tonight, you're not going home until we confirm Tyler isn't actually there. Where am I supposed to go? A hotel? Adrian hesitated, and Maya saw him war with himself before speaking. You can stay at my place. Guest room. I'll sleep in my office. It's safe, and Tyler doesn't know the address. The offer hung between them, loaded with implications. I don't want to be a burden, Maya said. You're not. Adrian's tone was final. Pack up your things. I'll drive you. Adrian's penthouse looked different in the evening than it had that hungover morning weeks ago. Warmer, somehow, with lamps casting golden pools of light and rain pattering against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Guest room is down that hall, Adrian said, shrugging off his jacket. Bathroom's en suite. There are spare toiletries in the cabinet. Take whatever you need. Maya followed his directions to a bedroom that was larger than her entire flat. Minimalist and elegant, with a bed that looked like a cloud and art on the walls that was probably worth more than her car. She showered quickly, washing away the day's stress, then emerged in borrowed pajamas, Adrian's shirt and sweatpants, both comically oversized. She found him in the kitchen making tea. Chamomile, he said, handing her a mug. My grandmother's recipe for insomnia. They settled on opposite ends of the leather sofa, rain creating a cocoon of white noise around them. The city glittered below, oblivious to the small drama unfolding in this high-rise sanctuary. Thank you, Maya said. For tonight. For dinner. For everything. Stop thanking me, Adrian replied, but his tone was gentle. You'd do the same. I don't know if I would. Not everyone's that kind. Adrian studied her over his tea. Tyler really did a number on you, didn't he? The observation was uncomfortably accurate. Maya wrapped her hands around the warm mug. He wasn't abusive or anything. He was just neglectful. I was never the priority. His career, his friends, his schedule, everything came first. I told myself it was fine because he was ambitious, and isn't that what you're supposed to want in a partner? Ambition shouldn't mean disrespect, Adrian said quietly. You can build something and still make time for people who matter. Is that why you work so much? Because people don't matter? The question was too direct, too personal. Maya regretted it immediately, but Adrian didn't deflect. I work because it's easier than relationships, less complicated, less risk. He set down his tea, his gaze distant. I was engaged once 7 years ago. Vanessa was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, intelligent, from the right family. Perfect on paper. Maya's heart clenched at the past tense. What happened? I found out she was cheating. With my business partner, actually. They'd been together for months, planning to push me out of Vale & Co. once they had enough ammunition. Adrian's voice remained steady, but Maya heard the old wound beneath. I caught them in my office going through confidential files. She was photographing documents about company finances. That's awful. It was illuminating, Adrian corrected. She didn't love me. She loved what I represented: money, status, access. When I stopped being useful, she found someone else. He looked at Maya directly. That's why I'm careful now. Why I don't blur lines between professional and personal. Why I'm careful with you. The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. I'm not her, Maya said softly. I know you're not. That's the problem. Adrian's eyes met hers across the sofa, and for the first time she saw his careful control slip. You're brilliant and driven, and you don't care about my money or my name. You care about the work, about doing things right, and every day I watch you create something beautiful. I have to remind myself that I'm your employer, that there are boundaries that I can't. He stopped, jaw tight. Can't what? Maya's voice was barely above a whisper. Adrian stood abruptly, moving to the windows, putting distance between them. Can't risk your career for my feelings. You just won the British Fashion Award. You're ascending. If people think you slept your way into success, it will follow you forever. I won't do that to you. Maya set down her tea and crossed to him, her heart pounding. What if I'm willing to take that risk? You shouldn't be. Adrian didn't turn around. You don't know what you're saying. Don't patronize me. Maya's voice firmed. I'm 28 years old. I know what I want. I've known since that night at the Crown when you told off that creep without expecting anything in return. I've known since you spent midnight teaching me how to drape fabric. I've known since you carried Italian food to my studio because you noticed I wasn't eating. Adrian finally turned, his expression raw. Maya. I'm not asking for forever, she interrupted. I'm not asking you to compromise my career. I'm just asking you to be honest. Do you feel this too? The rain hammered harder against the windows. Lightning flashed, illuminating Adrian's face, and in that moment, his careful control shattered. Yes. The word came out rough, honest, inevitable. God help me, yes. I feel it every time you walk into a room. Every time you defend your work with that fire in your eyes. Every time you smile like you just discovered something wonderful. He closed the distance between them, stopping just short of touching her. But wanting something doesn't make it right. And denying something doesn't make it go away, Maya countered. They stood inches apart, the air between them electric with possibility and restraint. Thunder rolled across London, shaking the windows. Adrian raised his hand slowly, giving her every chance to step back. When she didn't, his fingers brushed her cheek, feather-light and reverent. If we do this, he said quietly, it can't be a secret. I won't have you hiding or ashamed, and it can't affect your work. No special treatment, no favoritism. You'll earn everything on merit. I wouldn't want it any other way, and if it ends badly, if I hurt you or you decide I'm not worth it, you'll still have your job. No retaliation, no awkwardness. I'll make sure of it. Maya covered his hand with hers, keeping it against her cheek. You're really bad at romance, you know that? I'm aware, Adrian said dryly. 7 years out of practice. Then let me help. Maya stood on tiptoe and kissed him. For a heartbeat, Adrian remained still, shocked. Then his control finally completely broke. His arms came around her, pulling her close, and he kissed her back with 7 years of loneliness and weeks of restraint, pouring into that single connection. Maya tasted chamomile tea and rain and possibility. She felt the solid warmth of his body, the careful strength in his hands, the way he held her like she was precious and powerful at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. We're going to have to tell HR, he said. Maya laughed, surprised. That's what you're thinking about? I'm always thinking about protocol, it's a curse. But he smiled, and the expression transformed his usually serious face into something younger, lighter. Stay. I thought I was already staying. Guest room, remember? Not the guest room. Adrian's voice dropped lower. Stay with me. Tonight. Just stay. It wasn't a demand or assumption. It was a request, vulnerable and hopeful. Maya answered by taking his hand and letting him lead her down the hall, past the guest room to his bedroom, where rainlight painted the walls silver, and the city hummed below like a lullaby. They didn't speak much after that. Words felt unnecessary. Adrian helped her out of his borrowed shirt with careful reverence, his touch mapping her shoulders, her waist, the small of her back. Maya unbuttoned his shirt with shaking fingers, discovering the surprising strength beneath. The evidence that he hadn't always been a man in suits, that somewhere under the CEO facade was someone who still worked with his hands. When they finally came together, it was slow and deliberate, nothing like Maya's past experiences of fumbling urgency. Adrian moved like he designed collections, with precision, attention to detail, and an artist's appreciation for beauty. He learned her body the way he'd learned fabric, patient and thorough, finding what made her gasp, what made her arch, what made her forget her own name. After, they lay tangled in sheets that smelled like bergamot and rain, Maya's head on Adrian's chest, his fingers tracing idle patterns on her shoulder. "This is going to be complicated," Maya murmured. "Probably." Adrian pressed a kiss to her hair. "Worth it, though." Maya smiled against his skin. "Yeah, worth it." Maya woke to pale morning light and the smell of coffee. She stretched in Adrian's bed, gloriously sore and utterly content, until reality crashed back. Work. They had a presentation to buyers at 9. She'd slept with her boss. This was either the best decision or the worst mistake of her life. Adrian appeared in the doorway with 2 mugs, already dressed in charcoal trousers and a crisp white shirt. Every inch the composed CEO, except for his damp hair and the faint marks Maya's nails had left on his shoulders. "Good morning," he said, handing her coffee. "We need to talk logistics." "Romantic," Maya teased, but her stomach fluttered with nerves. Adrian sat on the edge of the bed, his expression serious. "I meant what I said last night. We tell HR today, full disclosure. And Maya." He waited until she met his eyes. "At work, nothing changes. I'm still your boss. You still answer to me professionally. No one can accuse you of sleeping your way to success because you'll earn everything on merit. Agreed?" "Agreed." Maya sipped her coffee, letting the caffeine clear her head. "What about outside work?" "Outside work, you're mine." Adrian's voice dropped possessively. "If that's what you want." The intensity in his gaze sent heat through her. "I want that." "Good." He leaned in, kissing her slowly, thoroughly, until Maya's coffee mug trembled in her hand. When he pulled back, his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Now get dressed. We have a presentation in 90 minutes, and you need to be brilliant." The day passed in a blur of professionalism. At Vale & Co., Adrian and Maya maintained perfect boundaries. He was Mr. Vale, she was Ms. Bennett, and their interactions could have been filmed for a corporate training video. But under the conference table during the buyer presentation, his foot brushed hers. A secret. A promise. A reminder. Maya presented her spring capsule with confidence born of talent and newfound security. The buyers loved it. Adrian's expression remained neutral, but she caught the flicker of pride in his eyes. After the meeting, Adrian's assistant Claire caught Maya in the hallway. "Ms. Bennett, Mr. Vale would like to see you in his office." Maya's pulse quickened, but she maintained composure. In Adrian's office, he closed the door and immediately pulled her into a kiss that left her breathless. "You were incredible," he murmured against her lips. "So were you. Very professional, Mr. Vale." "I'm an excellent actor." He kissed her again, deeper this time. "Dinner tonight? My place?" "I need to stop by my flat first. Get some actual clothes." Adrian's expression clouded. "Not alone. Not until we know Tyler's situation." "Adrian, I can't let an ex control my life." "Then I'll come with you." Non-negotiable. They went together that evening, arriving at Maya's building in Shoreditch as dusk fell. Everything seemed normal until Maya unlocked her door. Her flat had been ransacked. Drawers hung open, contents spilled across the floor. Her design sketches were scattered everywhere, some torn. Her laptop was gone. The message was spray-painted across her living room wall in red. "You chose wrong." Maya's legs gave out. Adrian caught her, his face white with fury. "Don't touch anything," he said, already dialing. "Police. Now." The next hours blurred together. Police officers taking statements, forensic teams dusting for prints, neighbors being questioned. Tyler had an alibi. He'd been at work. Multiple witnesses confirmed it. But the security footage from Maya's building showed someone matching his build entering with a copied key. "We'll investigate," the detective said. "But without clear evidence it was Mr. Brooks, we can only file a report." After the police left, Maya sat on her violated sofa, numb. Adrian paced like a caged predator, phone pressed to his ear. "I don't care what it costs," he was saying to someone, his lawyer, Maya assumed. "Emergency restraining order tonight. I'll email you photos of the damage and the police report." He paused. "No, she's not staying here. She's coming home with me." "Adrian," Maya began. He lowered the phone. "This isn't up for debate. Your flat isn't safe. You're staying with me until Tyler is dealt with permanently. I can't just move into your penthouse. People will talk." "Let them." Adrian's voice was steel. "Your safety matters more than gossip. And frankly, after tonight, I don't care who knows we're together." Maya wanted to argue, to assert her independence, but the spray-painted words on her wall kept flashing in her mind. "You chose wrong." "What if he escalates further?" she whispered. "What if he comes after you, or Vale and Co.? Then he'll learn what happens when people threaten what's mine." Adrian knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Maya, look at me. This is not your fault. Tyler's instability is not your responsibility to manage. You're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to need help. And I'm allowed to provide it." The gentleness in his voice broke something loose in Maya's chest. She'd spent so long being independent, proving she didn't need anyone, that she'd forgotten how to accept care. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay." They packed what Maya needed: clothes that hadn't been destroyed, toiletries, her backup hard drive with design files. As they were leaving, Maya noticed something on her drafting table. A photograph she didn't recognize, tucked under her sketchpad. It showed Adrian leaving his penthouse building with a woman Maya didn't recognize. The woman was blonde, beautiful, laughing at something Adrian was saying. The photo was dated 3 weeks ago, right around the time Maya and Adrian had started growing closer. Her stomach turned cold. "Adrian, who is this?" He looked at the photo and cursed softly. "That's Natasha Chen, from Vogue. We had breakfast to discuss Vale and Co.'s feature in their anniversary issue. Tyler left this here. Why would he? To make you doubt me." Adrian's jaw clenched. "It's a manipulation tactic. Plant seeds of suspicion, isolate you from support systems, make you question everything." Maya wanted to believe him. She did believe him. But the photo's existence, coupled with the ransacking, Tyler's escalating behavior, and the spray-painted message, created a toxic stew of fear and uncertainty. "Let's just go," she said, pocketing the photo. Back at Adrian's penthouse, Maya showered for the second time that day, scrubbing away the violation of having her personal space invaded. When she emerged, Adrian had prepared food. Simple pasta, nothing fancy, comfort over elegance. They ate mostly in silence. Maya's mind wouldn't stop spinning. Tyler's escalation, the threatening message, the photograph, the police's inability to immediately act. "I need to tell you something," Maya said finally. "Tyler, he's not stable. I didn't realize how unstable until tonight. But looking back, there were signs. Jealousy when I talked to other men, checking my phone, controlling what I wore to events." She set down her fork, appetite gone. "I thought it was love, passion. I didn't see it for what it was. Abuse," Adrian said quietly. "Emotional abuse at minimum. I feel stupid for not seeing it sooner." "Don't." Adrian's voice was firm. "Abusers are skilled at disguising control as care. It's not your fault. And it ends now. My lawyer is filing for the restraining order first thing tomorrow. Building security is being updated tonight. Tyler's photo will be flagged, facial recognition, everything. And I'm assigning you a security detail." "That's excessive." "It's necessary. Until Tyler is arrested and charged, you're vulnerable. Adrian reached across the table, covering her hand with his. Please let me keep you safe. Maya nodded, too exhausted to argue. That night, she lay in Adrian's bed, his arms around her, and tried to convince herself that everything would be okay. But the photograph haunted her, not because she doubted Adrian, but because she realized Tyler had been watching her, stalking her, planning his revenge. And men who plan don't stop at property damage. They escalate. This is getting intense. Drop a comment if you're still with Team Adrian and Maya. The restraining order was approved within 48 hours, but it felt like closing the barn door after the horse had bolted. Tyler was served at his office, a humiliation Maya knew would only fuel his rage. She was right. 3 days later, Maya arrived at Vale & Co. to find the design team in chaos. Someone had leaked confidential information about the spring collection to a competitor. Sketches, fabric specifications, pricing strategies. Everything that would give another house the ability to copy or undercut Vale & Co.'s upcoming line. The source of the leak was traced to Maya's work email account. I didn't do this, Maya said, standing in Adrian's office while Claire and the head of IT hovered near the door. I would never. We know you didn't send these emails directly, the IT director said, pulling up logs on his tablet. But they came from your account. Either someone has your password, or she gave it to someone, Claire finished quietly. Adrian's expression was unreadable, his CEO mask firmly in place. Everyone out. Ms. Bennett and I need to speak privately. When they were alone, Maya's composure cracked. You believe me, right? Tyler must have gotten into my email somehow. He had my laptop. I believe you, Adrian said immediately. But Maya, this is serious. We're talking corporate espionage. The board is demanding an investigation. They want you suspended pending the outcome. The word hit like a physical blow. Suspended? I'm fighting it. But they have a point. Your credentials were compromised, and whether intentionally or not, company secrets were leaked through your account. Adrian scrubbed a hand over his face, and for the first time, Maya saw cracks in his armor. Legal is involved now. There are protocols I have to follow, even as CEO. So what does that mean? It means you need to go home. Take paid leave while we investigate. Don't contact anyone from the design team. Don't access company files or emails. His voice was clinical, professional. The distance necessary to protect them both. I'll clear your name, Maya, I promise. But I have to do this by the book. Maya felt the floor shifting beneath her. Everything she'd worked for, her reputation, her career, her future, was unraveling because of Tyler's vendetta. What about us? She whispered. Adrian's jaw tightened. Us doesn't change, but I can't be seen showing favoritism during an active investigation. We need to be careful until this is resolved. Careful means what? Pretending we're not together? It means protecting you from additional scrutiny. Adrian crossed to her, his voice dropping. Maya, if the board thinks I'm compromised, that I'm protecting you because of our relationship, it makes everything worse. For both of us. The logic was sound. Maya hated it anyway. She left Vale & Co. that afternoon with a security escort, her access badge deactivated, her dreams in pieces. Photographers caught her exit. Someone had tipped off the press. By evening, gossip sites were running headlines. Rising designer implicated in fashion house espionage, and did Maya Bennett sleep her way to secrets? The narrative Tyler had created was metastasizing beyond control. Maya sat in Adrian's penthouse. She couldn't return to her violated flat, and watched her career implode in real time. Social media turned vicious. The congratulatory messages from last month's award win were replaced by accusations, speculation, and cruelty. Her phone buzzed constantly. Jenna calling, worried. Her mother from Yorkshire, confused and concerned. Unknown numbers, journalists wanting statements. Adrian came home past midnight to find Maya on the floor surrounded by her destroyed portfolio, tears she'd been too proud to cry finally falling. They think I'm a thief, she said. They think I used you. Everything I built, gone. In 48 hours, Tyler destroyed everything. Adrian knelt beside her, gathering scattered sketches with careful hands. He destroyed nothing. This is temporary. Painful, but temporary. You don't know that. Even if we prove I'm innocent, the stain remains. No one will hire me after this. Then we start over. You can freelance, launch your own label. With what money? What resources? What reputation? Maya's voice broke. I'm toxic now, Adrian. To the industry. To Vale & Co. She looked at him directly, seeing his exhaustion, the stress lines around his eyes. To you. Don't. Adrian's voice turned sharp. Don't you dare finish that thought. Your board already doubts your judgment because of me. How long before they push you out? How long before Tyler's plan works exactly as intended, destroying both of us? He doesn't get to win? Adrian framed her face with his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. Maya Bennett, you are the most talented designer I've seen in 20 years. One vindictive ex-boyfriend with hacking skills doesn't change that. The truth will come out. We'll prove what Tyler did, and you'll come back stronger. Maya wanted to believe him, but sitting in the wreckage of her career, she couldn't see a path forward. The next morning brought worse news. Tyler had filed a countersuit against Maya for defamation, claiming the restraining order was frivolous and damaged his reputation. His lawyer, expensive, clearly well-funded, was painting Tyler as the victim of a vindictive ex trying to blame him for her own professional failures. He's flipping the narrative, Adrian's lawyer explained over speakerphone, making himself the wronged party. It's a common abuse tactic, DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Can he win? Maya asked, her voice hollow. Not if we have evidence. Do you have any concrete proof Tyler was behind the apartment break-in, the email hack? Maya and Adrian exchanged glances. They had suspicions, circumstantial evidence, but nothing definitive that would hold up in court. We're working on it, Adrian said. After the lawyer hung up, Maya walked to the penthouse windows, staring at London spread below. Somewhere in that city, Tyler was winning, watching her fall apart, probably celebrating. I should leave, she said quietly. Go back to Yorkshire. Start over somewhere Tyler can't reach. Running won't solve this. Staying isn't solving it either. Maya turned to face Adrian. Look at what this is costing you. Your board questioning your decisions. Your company's reputation at risk. Your relationship with me used as ammunition. I don't care about any of that, Adrian interrupted. I care about you, about us, about justice. Sometimes justice doesn't come. Maya's voice was flat, defeated. Sometimes the bad guys win. Adrian crossed to her, and in his eyes she saw something fierce and unyielding. Not this time. I won't allow it. But despite his conviction, Maya felt the distance growing between them. Not emotional, but practical. Adrian was spending 18-hour days managing the fallout at Vale & Co., fielding board inquiries, conducting his own investigation. Maya was stuck in the penthouse, isolated, watching her reputation crumble online while unable to defend herself publicly. A week after the suspension, Natasha Chen from Vogue published an op-ed titled, "The Problem with Prodigies, When Talent Meets Trouble." It was a thinly veiled attack on Maya, questioning whether emerging designers were properly vetted, suggesting that personal relationships with executives might cloud judgment. The photo Tyler had planted, of Adrian and Natasha having breakfast, suddenly made sense. He'd fed Natasha information, or at least suspicion, turning her into an unwitting weapon. Maya read the article on her phone, each paragraph another nail in her professional coffin, and realized Tyler had been planning this for months. The break-in, the email hack, the leaked designs, the press manipulation, it was all orchestrated, strategic, designed to isolate her from support and destroy her credibility. And it was working. That night, Adrian came home to find Maya packing. "What are you doing?" His voice was carefully neutral. "Going to my mother's, in Yorkshire, just for a few days. I need space to think." "Space from what? From me?" From everything. Maya couldn't meet his eyes. Adrian, this isn't working. You're drowning trying to save my career while yours suffers. Your board meeting next week. They're going to question your leadership because of me. And I can't watch you lose everything because you tried to help me. Adrian's expression shuddered. So you're leaving. I'm taking a step back, letting you handle the investigation without the complication of us. It's the smart thing. It's the scared thing, Adrian said, his voice harder than she'd ever heard it. Tyler wins if you run. He wins if you let fear make your decisions. Maybe he's already won. Maya zipped her bag with shaking hands. Maybe some battles aren't worth fighting. This one is. Adrian didn't move to stop her, but his eyes held hers. But I can't fight it alone. I need you to trust me, to trust us, to believe that we're stronger than Tyler's manipulation. Maya wanted to. God, she wanted to. But standing in that beautiful penthouse that had become a gilded cage, watching the man she loved fracture under pressure he shouldn't have to bear, she couldn't see how this ended anyway, but badly. I'm sorry, she whispered, and walked out. She made it as far as the elevator before breaking down completely, sobbing in the empty car as it descended toward the lobby, toward the street, toward a future that felt impossibly dark. Behind her, in the penthouse, Adrian stood at the windows watching the city lights blur, his hands clenched into fists, wondering if he'd just lost the most important thing he'd ever found. Maya spent 3 days in Yorkshire, helping her mother with the garden and trying to remember who she'd been before London, before fashion, before Tyler and Adrian and the whole beautiful, terrible mess. Her mother, with the wisdom of someone who'd weathered her own storm, said simply, "Running is fine, love, as long as you eventually turn around and face what you're running from." On the 4th day, Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Ms. Bennett?" A woman's voice, professional but hesitant. "My name is Sophie Chen. I'm Natasha Chen's assistant at Vogue. We need to talk about Tyler Brooks." Maya's heart stuttered. "I'm listening." "Not over the phone." "Can you meet me? There's something you need to see." They met at a cafe in King's Cross 2 days later. Sophie was young, mid-20s, with the exhausted look of someone working in high-pressure fashion media. She slid a folder across the table. "Tyler contacted Natasha 6 weeks ago," Sophie said quietly. "I thought it was weird. We don't usually take pitches from random designers, but he said he had information about Adrian Vale's inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. That got Natasha's attention." Maya's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Inside were printed emails between Tyler and Natasha, carefully cultivating suspicion about Maya and Adrian's relationship, providing the photo of Adrian and Natasha's breakfast meeting, suggesting that Maya was manipulating Adrian for career advancement. Natasha believed him, Sophie continued. Or wanted to. She and Adrian have history. Nothing serious, but she's always carried a torch. Tyler played on that. But yesterday, Tyler made a mistake. Sophie pulled out her phone, pulling up a voice recording. "He called the Vogue office thinking Natasha was there. I answered. He thought I was her and started bragging about his plan, how he'd hacked Maya's email, planted evidence, leaked the designs himself using her credentials. He said once Maya and Adrian were both destroyed, he'd forgive Maya and take her back." The recording played. Tyler's voice, smug and cruel, detailing everything. Copying Maya's apartment key months ago, stealing her laptop during the break-in, using password recovery tools to access her work email, purchasing leaked Vale and Comer's designs from a disgruntled former employee and sending them to competitors using Maya's account. "I have the receipts from everything," Tyler said on the recording. "The keysmith who made the copy, the IT guy who helped with the hack, the employee I paid off. But it doesn't matter. No one will believe Maya now. She's finished. And Adrian Vale's reputation is tanking for sleeping with a corporate spy. It's perfect." The recording ended. Maya sat frozen, her mind reeling. "Why are you telling me this?" she finally asked. Sophie's expression was fierce. "Because Tyler's a predator, and I'm tired of watching men destroy women's careers. I gave a copy of this recording to Adrian Vale's lawyer this morning, but I thought you deserved to hear it directly. She paused. Also, Natasha feels terrible. She realized Tyler manipulated her, used her jealousy as a weapon. She's retracting her op-ed and writing a new piece exposing Tyler's harassment campaign. Maya's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. This is enough to press charges? Enough to bury him, Sophie confirmed. Computer fraud, corporate espionage, harassment, breaking and entering. Tyler's looking at serious criminal charges. Adrian's lawyer is coordinating with the police as we speak. After Sophie left, Maya sat in the cafe for a long time, staring at the folder. Evidence. Concrete, undeniable proof of Tyler's guilt and her innocence. The truth that could restore everything she'd lost. She called Adrian. He answered on the first ring. Maya, just her name, but she heard everything in it. Relief, hope, love. I heard about the recording, she said. Sophie Chen just showed me everything. I was going to call you. I wanted to tell you in person, but... Adrian's voice caught. We have him, Maya. The lawyer says it's ironclad. Tyler's being arrested today. The charges are significant enough that he'll likely take a plea deal to avoid trial. And Vale and Co. Your suspension is lifted effective immediately. The board received a full briefing this morning. They're issuing a public statement clearing your name and apologizing for the investigation. He paused. You were right, though. This did damage my credibility. 3 board members called for my resignation. Maya's heart sank. Adrian. I declined to resign. Instead, I reminded them that Vale and Co. His stock price increased 30% since you joined, that your collections have generated more revenue than any designer in company history, and that their failure to support an employee who was being actively victimized reflected poorly on their judgment, not mine. His voice turned wry. They backed down. Barely. But they backed down. I'm sorry you had to fight that battle. I'd fight 1,000 more. Adrian's voice softened. When are you coming home? Maya looked out the cafe window at London moving past. The city that had broken her heart and given her dreams, that had introduced her to Tyler's cruelty and Adrian's steady strength. Tonight, she said. I'm coming home tonight. Tyler Brooks was arrested at his office on a Wednesday afternoon, led out in handcuffs while colleagues watched and cameras rolled. The charges were extensive. Unauthorized computer access, corporate espionage, criminal harassment, breaking and entering, stalking. The media, which had crucified Maya days earlier, now pivoted with whiplash speed. Headlines screamed, "Tech designer arrested in fashion espionage plot," and "How Tyler Brooks weaponized revenge against ex-girlfriend." Maya's name was cleared publicly, but the stain of accusation lingered. She knew it would take time to fully restore her reputation, maybe years, but she also knew she had something more valuable than spotless PR. The truth. She returned to Vale & Co. on Thursday to a standing ovation from the design team. Claire hugged her, whispering apologies. Even the security guards who'd escorted her out days earlier looked sheepish. Adrian greeted her in his office with professional warmth, a handshake, words of welcome. But his eyes held everything he couldn't say in front of witnesses. Later that night, alone in his penthouse, he made up for the restraint. "Don't ever leave me like that again," he said between kisses. "I was losing my mind. I'm sorry, I was scared." "I know. I was too." Adrian pulled back, framing her face with his hands. "But Maya, we don't run from fear. We face it. Together. That's the deal." "Deal," Maya agreed, and kissed him to seal it. The following week brought Tyler's arraignment. Maya wasn't required to attend, but she chose to, sitting in the courtroom gallery beside Adrian, watching Tyler's expensive lawyer try to mitigate the damage. The evidence was overwhelming. The voice recording, financial records showing payments to the disgruntled Vale & Co's employee, security footage from Maya's building, forensic analysis of her hacked email account. Tyler pleaded guilty to avoid trial. The judge sentenced him to 18 months in prison, 5 years probation, and a permanent restraining order forbidding contact with Maya or anyone associated with Vale & Co. As Tyler was led away, he looked at Maya one last time. She'd expected to see rage or remorse. Instead, she saw nothing, just emptiness, a man who'd destroyed his own life trying to control someone else's. She felt pity more than triumph. Outside the courthouse, journalists swarmed. Adrian's PR team had prepared a statement, but Maya decided to speak her own truth. Tyler Brooks didn't just attack me, she said, facing the cameras with steady courage. He attacked every woman who's tried to leave a relationship and been punished for it. He attacked every professional who's been undermined by someone weaponizing their personal life. His actions were calculated, cruel, and criminal. She paused. But he didn't win. Truth won. Justice won. And I'm still here, still designing, still building the career I earned. The clip went viral within hours, not as gossip but as a rallying cry. Women from across industries shared their own stories of vindictive exes, of careers sabotaged by men who couldn't handle rejection. Maya became unexpectedly a symbol of resilience. Vogue UK published Natasha Chen's new op-ed, "I Was Wrong About Maya Bennett, and What That Taught Me About Believing Women." It was a remarkable mea culpa, acknowledging how easily Natasha had been manipulated by her own jealousy and bias. The British Fashion Awards Committee reached out. They wanted Maya to speak at their annual summit about navigating adversity in the industry. Brands that had ghosted her during the scandal now returned, requesting collaborations. But the most important restoration came 2 weeks later at the spring collection launch. Vale & Co. had postponed the show during the investigation. Now with Maya cleared and the press hungry for redemption narratives, Adrian scheduled a comeback presentation at the Saatchi Gallery. Bigger, bolder, impossible to ignore. Maya's spring collection was her most personal work yet. Garments that told stories of survival, transformation, resilience. She'd added pieces during her Yorkshire retreat, designs born from pain but refusing to stay broken, dresses with shattered glass prints that reformed into beautiful patterns, jackets with visible mending, the repairs more striking than the original fabric, a final gown in phoenix colors, ash gray melting into ember orange, and finally blazing gold. The night of the show, Maya stood backstage with Adrian, her nerves singing. "You ready?" he asked. "I've been ready my whole life," Maya replied. The show was transcendent. Models walked to music Maya had selected, strings building to crescendos, minor keys resolving to major. Each garment told its story, damage acknowledged, beauty reclaimed, strength earned through fire. When the phoenix gown appeared, worn by a model who moved like flame incarnate, the audience rose in spontaneous applause mid-show, breaking every Fashion Week protocol. Adrian found Maya in the wings. "Take your bow. They're not sitting down until you do." Maya walked onto the runway to thunderous applause, and this time, she wasn't crying. She was smiling, radiant, victorious in the way that only comes from surviving something that should have destroyed you. Adrian joined her, taking her hand and raising it high, not as employer and employee, but as partners. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "Maya Bennett, Britain's brightest design talent. And yes, in full disclosure," he looked at Maya with unmistakable love, "the woman I'm extraordinarily fortunate to call mine." The audience roared approval. Cameras flashed. Social media exploded with celebration. By morning, photos of Adrian and Maya, hands clasped, smiling, unashamed, would be everywhere. At the after-party, Sir James Whitmore raised a toast. "To Maya Bennett, who taught us that talent combined with courage is unstoppable, and to Adrian Vale, who was smart enough to recognize both." Maya clinked glasses with Adrian, their eyes meeting over champagne bubbles. "No regrets?" she asked quietly. "Only that I didn't kiss you sooner," Adrian replied, and proceeded to remedy that oversight right there in front of London's fashion elite. The kiss was captured by a dozen cameras, turned into GIFs, shared across every platform. But Maya didn't care about the optics anymore. She cared about the man beside her, the work she loved, the life she'd fought to reclaim. Tyler had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd forged her into something stronger, sharper, unbreakable. And that, Maya thought as Adrian's arms came around her waist, was the sweetest victory of all. 6 months later, Maya stood in the Vale and Cumber design studio, surrounded by fabric swatches and sketches for the autumn collection. Spring had been a triumph. Summer's capsule line sold out in days. Now she was building something new, something entirely her own. "Ms. Bennett?" Claire appeared in the doorway. "There's someone here to see you. Says it's important." Maya looked up, curious. Adrian was in Milan for meetings. She wasn't expecting anyone. The visitor was a woman in her 50s, elegant in a charcoal suit. "Maya Bennett? I'm Elizabeth Harrington. I run the British Fashion Council's mentorship program." She extended her hand. "I have a proposal for you." Over coffee in the conference room, Elizabeth laid out an opportunity. Maya would lead a new initiative supporting emerging designers who'd faced professional setbacks, whether from personal circumstances, industry bias, or, like her, targeted sabotage. "You've become a symbol," Elizabeth said, "not just of survival but of refusal to be diminished. Young designers need that. They need to see someone who faced the worst and came back stronger." Maya felt the rightness of it settle in her bones. I'd be honored. That evening she met Adrian at his penthouse, their penthouse now officially since she'd moved in permanently 3 months ago. He'd insisted on putting her name on the deed, saying homes should belong to both people who made them. "How was your day?" Adrian asked, pulling her into a kiss that tasted like coming home. Maya told him about Elizabeth's offer. "It means extra time commitment, travel for workshops, media appearances." "So take it," Adrian said simply. "You'll be brilliant. It might affect my work for Vale & Co." "Maya." Adrian's hands framed her face. "You're not just my designer or my employee anymore. You're my partner, in business, in life, in everything. If this mentorship program matters to you, we'll make it work." "We," Maya repeated, testing the word. It still felt new, precious, after years of facing everything alone. "We," Adrian confirmed. "Always we." 3 weeks later, Maya gave her first speech at the British Fashion Council's annual summit. She spoke about resilience, about the difference between surviving and thriving, about how setbacks could become setups for greater success. "Tyler Brooks tried to erase me," she said to the packed auditorium. "He wanted me small, silent, destroyed. Instead, he taught me that my worth isn't dependent on anyone's validation. Not an ex-partner's, not the industry's, not even my own doubts." She paused, scanning the crowd of young, hopeful faces. "You will face obstacles. Some external, some internal. People will try to diminish your light because it threatens them. Don't let them. Your talent, your voice, your vision, they matter. They're needed. Fight for them." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Backstage afterward, Adrian waited with a single white rose, her favorite, a detail he'd remembered from an offhand comment months ago. "Proud of you," he said, kissing her temple. "Proud of us," Maya corrected. That autumn, Maya's collection won the British Fashion Award for Design Innovation. Adrian's speech was brief. "This award belongs to Maya Bennett, whose courage matches her talent. Vale & Co. is honored to support her vision. I'm honored to love her." The declaration made headlines again, but this time the narrative was pure celebration. No scandal, no suspicion. Just 2 people who'd found each other in a bar on the worst night of Maya's life, and turned it into the beginning of something extraordinary. A year after Tyler's arrest, Maya received a letter forwarded through lawyers. Tyler from prison apologizing. The words were stilted, clearly coached by his therapist, but underneath Maya detected genuine remorse. "I don't know if I forgive him," she told Adrian that night. The letter spread on their kitchen counter. "Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks he doesn't deserve it." "Forgiveness isn't about what he deserves," Adrian said quietly. "It's about what you need. There's no timeline, no requirement. Whatever you feel is valid. Maya folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday she'd respond. Maybe not. Either way, Tyler no longer had power over her story. 2 years after that first meeting at the Crown, Adrian proposed, not with fanfare or public spectacle, but on a quiet Sunday morning in their penthouse, Maya wearing his shirt, the same one from that first morning, and Adrian on one knee with a simple platinum band. "I'm not good at romance," he admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "I work too much, I'm controlling about details, I probably always will be. But Maya, you make me better. You make me want to be better. Will you marry me?" Maya pulled him to his feet and kissed him with everything she had. Gratitude, love, joy. "Yes. Yes," she said against his lips. "Yes, yes, yes." They married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the Victoria and Albert Museum, the same venue where Adrian had defended Maya against Tyler at that first gala. The symmetry felt right, poetic, a circle closing. Jenna was maid of honor. Sir James Whitmore walked Maya down the aisle. The dress was Maya's own design, silk that caught light like water, architectural and flowing at once, a perfect marriage of structure and freedom. Adrian cried when he saw her, unashamed tears that made Maya love him even more. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Adrian promised to always see her, always believe her, always fight beside her. Maya promised to stay, to trust, to build a life as beautiful as any collection they'd create. "I love you," Adrian said, sliding the ring onto her finger. "From that first night when you were heartbroken and fierce, I loved you. I'll love you until the day I die." "I love you," Maya replied. "For seeing potential when I couldn't. For staying when I ran. For being my partner in everything." Their kiss tasted like champagne and promises and hard-won happiness. At the reception, surrounded by friends, family, and fashion elite, Maya looked at the life she'd built from ruins. Tyler had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd inadvertently led her to the man who would stand beside her through everything. "What are you thinking?" Adrian asked, pulling her into a dance. "That I'm grateful," Maya said honestly. "Not for what Tyler did. I'll never be grateful for that. But for what came after. For finding you. For learning my own strength. For discovering that sometimes the wrong bar leads to exactly the right man." Adrian smiled, that rare, full expression that transformed his serious face. "The right man who loves you more than anything." "I know," Maya said, and she did. Finally, completely, without doubt. Later, as guests danced and celebrated, Sir James Whitmore pulled Maya aside. "You've become quite the icon," he said with genuine warmth. "The girl who survived scandal, cleared her name, and built an empire. What's next for Maya Vale?" Maya Vale now, the name still strange and wonderful on her tongue, considered the question. Her mentorship program was thriving, supporting dozens of young designers. Her collections consistently sold out. She and Adrian were discussing starting their own subsidiary label, something experimental and daring. But more than any professional achievement, she had this: a partner who saw her completely, work she loved, a life she'd fought for and won. "What's next?" Maya repeated, glancing at Adrian across the room. He caught her eye and smiled. That private expression meant only for her. "Everything. Absolutely everything. Strength isn't the absence of vulnerability. It's choosing to rebuild when someone tries to break you. Your worth isn't determined by those who sought to diminish it, but by the courage you show in reclaiming your story. Sometimes the darkest nights lead to the brightest dawns, and the wrong choices of others can guide you toward the right path for yourself. Justice may be slow, but truth has a way of surfacing, especially when met with resilience and unwavering support from those who truly see you. What would you have done in Maya's position? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you love this story of resilience and redemption, hit that subscribe button for more powerful tales of courage, justice, and love. Your support means everything.